Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Reckless Paradise Podcast. I am your host, Dystro, and tonight's episode, the final episode of June, we're going to be talking about a mental health condition that sweeps the nation a little bit. Most more so in pregnant mothers and all that stuff. We're going to be talking about postpartum depression, or PPD. It affects new parents and all that stuff. Marissa was actually the one that talked about this topic with me. She wanted me to kind of cover it and just kind of just go through the ebbs and flows and all stuff, and just like what it means and what it transcribes to people, or who could be in that circle. So it is a serious mental health condition that affects new parents, characterized by prolonged feelings of sadness, anxiety, and difficulty bonding with the baby. So there's an overview of this. It is a type of depression that occurs after childbirth, affecting up to 15% of women, which that's, if you think about it, yes, it is a small number, but that's a lot of women, especially like new mothers and all that stuff coming in too. It is more severe than baby blues, which typically resolves within a few weeks. PPD can develop within the first few weeks after delivery, but also may arise up a year later. Symptoms can interfere with a parent's ability to care for themselves and their baby, which, luckily, Marissa's been kind of doing good about that. She just celebrated her baby's 2 month, which I'm like, yay, happy for her. Like she's gonna be a big old, she's gonna be a big old baby. She's gonna be a healthy little girl. And I can't wait to see her next year, hopefully. So some of the symptoms that can occur, feels like one of those, commercials, like side effects can occur. So some symptoms of postpartum depression can vary widely, but may include persistent sadness or low mood, which is feeling like overwhelmed, hopeless, or helpless. Anxiety, intense worry about the baby's health or safety. Crying spells, frequent crying for no apparent reason. So, for example, like Marissa has told me numerous times that she has just had like a crying spell for no apparent reason, just to have it, and it's just like that's just sad because like she could be just crying about whatever it is, but it's like sometimes it's just not like that. Excuse me. Fatigue, extreme tiredness that can't, or that doesn't improve with rest, which since, both Casey and Marissa are kind of young parents, that's kind of going to be the norm for a little bit. Difficulty bonding, it says feeling disconnected from the baby or having trouble forming a bond. I don't think that, I don't think that was going to be a tough one for Marissa, because, that's her baby. And like, I don't think she would have problems with that. And then it says changes in appetite or sleep. It says eating too much or too little and experiencing insomnia even when the baby is sleeping. Um, I don't think she's had a change in appetite, but I know the change in sleep is kind of like kicking her ass because, like, Marissa has to wake up at like, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes and has to feed the baby. Um, so so there is some causes and risk factors here. The exact cause of postpartum depression is fully not understood, but it is believed to result from the combination of hormonal, physical, emotional, and social changes that occur after childbirth. Factors that may increase the risk include hormonal changes, physical changes, emotional factors, and lack of support. But for the hormonal changes, is a fluctuations in hormones that could affect the mood. Um, that could be a common thing here. Um, I know, like, the physical changes and all stuff, like, it can do that. It says recovery from childbirth and physical exhaustion can contribute to feelings of depression. Like, when she lost the baby weight, she was starting to feel kind of like not pregnant. I know that's what it means, but like, there's a YouTube channel that I watch sometimes. And when the mother had given childbirth to their first newborn, or their second child, like she was like kind of feeling like a little sad because like she didn't have the little belly on her anymore. And I think that's kind of maybe could be a contradicting factor in that. Um, but I don't think Mercy would have that. Because from what I've kind of gathered here, I don't think she's had any physical changes. Like, I mean, she's probably kind of exhausted a little bit, but not like full blown exhaustion, like after 6 hours or something. It says emotional factors. It says stress, anxiety about parenting, and feeling of inadequacy can play a role. I know the anxiety about parenting thing that kind of is like that's a big factor. Stress, yeah, that's gonna be another factor too. The lack of support, says insufficient emotional and practical support from family and friends can increase vulnerability to PPD. Um, I don't think that's a I don't think that's a factor for her because the people that are around her is like her main squeeze, her dad, her mom, her sisters, um, her friends, me. Like she's got a lot of support behind her, and I think it's a good support system to have, especially in her case. Um, no, but if she didn't have that support system, I don't know how she would be functioning at all because she'd be just kind of just like in the dumps like she was before. Um, which I don't want her to be that anymore. And then it says postpartum depression. It is treatable, and early intervention is critical or crucial. It says treatment options may include therapy, medication, support groups. There is some medication that she is on, and doing therapy. She is doing therapy, just to like kind of like help not get into more of the depression. But she is doing better. She is doing good. So it says in conclusion, it says if you or someone you know is experiencing symptoms of postpartum depression, it is important to seek help. It says PPD is not a sign of weakness, and support is available to help manage the condition and improve the well-being for both the parent and the baby. So if you are dealing with that out there, do not hesitate to ask for any help out there. So I figured I would also kind of like stretch this out a little bit longer, so it's not a short episode. But there is a spectrum for mood disorders as well. So I figured go into deep depth with them. So the first one, it is called baby blues. As like the most common and longest form of postpartum mood disturbance, approximately 50 to 85 new mothers. Wow, that is a high statistic, or high stat, I should say. Um, Symptoms typically appear within the first few days of delivery and resolve within 2 weeks without medical intervention. Um, Common signs include mood swings, tearfulness, irritability, mild anxiety, restlessness, and feeling overwhelmed by new responsibilities. Baby blues do not interfere with daily functioning or the ability to care for the baby. Well, I mean, um, and I mean, that's common. Like it says, it's very common in new mothers as well. Just talk about PPD. It says clinical postpartum depression is more severe than baby blues, but can affect 10 to 15% of new mothers. It may develop anytime within the first year after childbirth, often around 6 months postpartum. Symptoms include persistent sadness, anxiety, fatigue, irritability, frequent crying, feelings of worthlessness, and difficulty bonding with the baby. PPD can significantly impair daily functioning, requires professional treatment, which may include therapy, lifestyle adjustments, and sometimes medication. There is also postpartum anxiety. This involves excessive worry, restlessness, and tension that can interfere with daily life and caregiving. It may occur alone or alongside PPD. So symptoms include racing thoughts, panic attacks, and constant concern for the baby's safety. Treatment often involves therapy, stress management techniques, and sometimes medication. There is postpartum OCD. I did not know there was postpartum OCD. Postpartum OCD is characterized by intrusive, unwanted thoughts and compulsive behaviors aimed at preventing harm to the baby. Mothers may experience intense anxiety and engage in repetitive checking or cleaning rituals. Professional intervention, including cognitive behavioral therapy and medication, is typically required. There is also postpartum PTSD. Postpartum PTSD can develop after a traumatic birth experience. Symptoms include flashbacks, nightmares, hypervigilance, um, and avoidance of reminders of the birth. Treatment usually involves trauma-focused therapy and support from mental health professionals. There is also postpartum psychosis. So, this is postpartum psychosis is a rare but severe condition affecting 1 in 1,000 new mothers. It has an acute onset, often within the first 2 weeks of postpartum, and is considered a psychiatric emergency. Symptoms include severe aggravation or severe agitation, confusion, delusions, hallucinations, rapid speech, and mania. Immediate medical attention is critical, and treatment typically involves hospitalization, medication, and close psychiatric monitoring. It says, in summary, postpartum mood disorders vary in severity, duration, and impact on daily life. While baby blues, mild and self-limiting, conditions like PPD, postpartum anxiety, OCD, PTSD, and psychosis require professional evaluation and treatment. Early recognition and support are essential for the well-being of both the parent and child. Oh boy, like there's a lot. There was a lot to unpack there. Um, I know, like the PPD, like that's like the whole thing that we're talking about here. Um, but I just didn't know that there was like a lot of different disorders for it. I don't really think she would have OCD or PTSD or the psychosis, but I do know she just has PPD as like just saying along what it is. Um, for like just talking about what it is, sometimes as well as like for people who did not hear the beginning of it, it is a type of depression that typically happens after childbirth. So it's like if you're feeling extreme sadness or loneliness, have severe mood swings or anxiety, or lose interest in things you normally enjoy, you may have postpartum PPD. You can develop it with the first few weeks of the child's birth, or gradually, even up to a year later. But it can also start during pregnancy. So most commonly, it happens around 6 weeks postpartum. It says PPD doesn't just affect the mother; it can affect surrogates and adoptive parents as well. It says people experience hormonal, physical, emotional, financial, or social changes after having a baby. These changes can make life difficult or feel difficult, and you may begin to doubt yourself. If you have PPD, know that you're not alone. It's not your fault and that help is available. Some people never seek treatment out of fear or embarrassment, but your healthcare provider is always a safe place to share your symptoms and feelings. They can help you figure out if you need treatment or what treatment will work best for you. And then it goes into the postpartum blues or baby blues, and then postpartum depression, and then postpartum psychosis. Some of the stuff I just talked about was, postpartum OCD, postpartum PTSD, but there's like a lot of different avenues that you can like look into it. Um, I've never had to deal with like somebody that was going through PPD. Um, just kind of like just kind of be like like hey, like I'm here for you and all stuff. Because I've never had to see somebody go through that. Not I mean not at all. Um, there is lots of medication for it. Like I said, and I think that is where I will kind of like leave on this episode. It is a short episode. I am so sorry. Um, but I do want to end this episode with a little message here, a little positive message here. If you are suffering through PPD or PPD OCD or PPD PTSD or PPD psychosis, there is help. There is help for everybody out there going through whatever it is you're going through. Know that you're not alone in this. And always seek the help that you need because if you don't, then you kind of like just go, oh shit, well I don't have anybody around me to help out. Um, always have that support system. Always check yourself before you do anything harmless or harmful to yourself. And always just love your child because that's your one way in life. Because like when your mom gave birth to you, it's kind of like now it's like you gotta like carry on that legacy. That son or daughter. That's what your legacy is supposed to be, and that legacy is gonna grow up to be something else. And do a lot of cool things. In the near future. So I do really appreciate you guys for listening and or watching this video. If you have made it to the very end of this video, we do really appreciate it. If you want to follow us on all social media links in the description below, which will take you to the link tree page, which will take you to our Instagram pages, Twitter pages, the podcast Reddit pages on there, the gaming YouTube channel is on there. And tonight's song of the night, I will go with Bush. I'm gonna go with Bush here. And the song is called Machine Head. Now it is one word. It's not two words. It is one word. And I mean, it's typical Bush. So that is going to be the song of the night. And that is it for the month of June. And I will see you guys in July. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Stay safe. Love you. Bye. Peace.